Greetings of the day to everyone present here. I am Arpit Sanjar, convener of Vidhi Mitra, the legal aid cell of Dharmashastra National University, Jabalpur, and the host of this webinar. This webinar cum panel discussion on social media and its impact on democracy is brought to you by Vidhi Mitra, the legal aid cell, in collaboration with Association of Democratic Reforms India. It is a delight for me to introduce to you our esteemed panelists with us. I would like to welcome first retired Major General Anil Verma sir, who is currently the head of ADR and National Election Watch. Working with ADR for past 3 years as head and national coordinator, sir has served 37 years in this distinguished service of the Indian Army. During his tenure in the Army, he has held various staff and command appointments all over India in different terrains and operational conditions. He was awarded G06 in C Commendation and Chief of Army Staff Commendation card twice for his distinguished service. Sir did BCom Honours from Sri Ram Commerce, Delhi, and MSc Defence Studies from Madras University. Sir is also an alumnus of Defence Services Staff College in Wellington. It is a pleasure to have you with us, sir. Now, I would like to welcome our second panelist, Mr. Ashit Kumar Srivastav. Ashit sir is presently an assistant professor of law, our beloved constitutional law teacher in Dharmashastra National University. He is the faculty coordinator and advisor of Vidhi Mitra, the legal aid cell. Sir is also a frequent contributor to several newspapers pieces at The Statesman, The Pioneer, and Deccan Herald. It is a pleasure to have you with us, sir. Now, the topic for the discussion today is social media and its impact on democracy. Democracy basically means involvement of all citizens and their participation. I must comment, it's both impossible to deny and impossible to measure the impact that social media platforms now are having on a democratic process, with an increasing number of people now getting at least some of their daily news and information online. The role that social media plays in facilitating and distributing political related content is growing, which could have a larger influence on public opinion than we think. Whether there is a positive or negative impact or both is the question of the hour. Not taking much of your time, I now ask Anil sir to start with the discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Arpit. You can just kindly put up the PPT. And one correction, I have been with ADR now for almost 7 years, not 3 years. I joined immediately after I retired in 2000.
I'm really sorry.
No problem, not to worry. Okay, so once you put up the PPT, we can start. And good evening to all. In the meantime, namaskar, vanakkam, sat sri akal, and all the greetings. It's a pleasure to be here with the DNLU and the with the host Arpit and Professor Srivastav.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And the topic actually is a very wide this thing, because democracy by itself is a very broad-based subject. So what I will do is initially very briefly touch upon what we do at ADR in 2 minutes. Thereafter, the first part is structured on what is democracy and how does social media impact it. And the remaining half, I will cover the specific relationship of social media and the Indian elections. So that is how I have structured the talk, and I hope you guys will find it useful. And we can you can keep putting your questions if you have any on the chat box, and we will try to answer it towards the end. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, next, please. Next, please. Okay, so as is shown here, no, please go back. Back. Arpit, back.
Just there's a problem.
Yeah, okay. So this is about ADR, for some of you may be knowing about ADR, but I have put these couple of slides for the people who do not know about ADR. You can just go through it. So Basically, our job is we try to fight against the money and muscle power in the electoral system, and try to motivate the political parties to bring in transparency and accountability and democratic system of functioning in their uh, play in the political this thing. And myneta.info is our website, which is extremely popular. And during election, there are lakhs and lakhs of hits on this. During the 2014 elections, it crashed because there was so much load on it. So in the 2019 elections, I had 3 servers working for this. Okay, next, please. So basically, we have divided ourselves into 4 verticals. Election watches, where we generate reports. We publish reports about the background details of the candidates. This started in 2002 after a very important landmark Supreme Court judgment, which some of the law students may have read about. And the other, we publish a lot of details, reports on the election expenditure and so on and so forth. Political party watch is the other vertical we started in 2008, wherein we focus only on the political parties donations and their income tax returns and the balance sheets, etc., which they submit. So we analyze those and then put out reports. Legal advocacy, we keep filing a lot of PILs, pertaining to electoral and political reforms from now and then. We have a number of them going on, which I won't cover here today, but those of you who are interested can go to our website. And communications and IT is, of course, where we use our social media to, project our views and our blogs and our reports and whatever we are doing. Okay, next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, there may have been a preview slide before this. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, we can just go ahead. Okay, please come to the next slide. So here now the first part I'll talk about social media. So what is social media? Now this definition which is given here on this slide is from the Election Commission of India. Okay, so you can go through it, but basically it covers this 5 issues which are there, uh, wherein the collaborative projects, where Wikipedia, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook, everything is covered in this, So, okay. Next slide. Now we should also talk about what is democracy. I mean, you must have heard so many definitions: for the people, by the people, so on and so forth. Why I'm showing you this slide is, though this is what as per the UN, the United Nations, what is, you see, our very narrow concept, I would say, perception of democracy, that it is something to do with elections, uh, government banana and political parties, but it's not so. Democracy is a very huge thing, and you know it has so many elements. But why I want to bring this slide is because you see the last few points, accountability, transparency, free, independent and pluralistic media, respect for human and political rights, freedom of association and expression, the right to vote and to stand in elections. So this is how we have to connect the social media with the democracy. That is why I'm showing you this slide. So please keep this in mind that democracy is a very vast subject. So I'm not going to talk about the entire democratic thing, but how does social media impact democracy? We'll discuss that in the subsequent slides. Okay, next please. Yeah, before I go into dive into the topic per se, I thought let me give you some statistics. So you can just go through these. These are the latest statistics which I googled. That India has 72 crore users and the second highest in the world as far as internet goes. First is China, third is US. By 2030, we will have 1.1 billion Indian users, and 80% will be accessing this on their mobiles. 80% are using the vernacular content. Okay, so it is not English based basically as we think. And aged 25 years and more, almost 45% of the subscriber base. Facebook, 34 crores as of this year, which is almost 23% of our population, and we are number one as far as the world rankings. Number two is USA, number three is Indonesia. Twitter, we are number three with 17 million users. And as of the latest, that is September 20, the statistics as to how social media is being used in India. 74% people are accessing Facebook, 11.59 Pinterest, Twitter 7%, YouTube 4%, Instagram 1.6, and so on and so forth. Next, please. Okay, so this I have picked up from a research paper just to show you who are the stakeholders of this in this social media thing. Okay, so the author has written that there's the government, political parties, election commission, voters, community, and policymakers. Now, what is the interplay between them? Next slide, please. Yeah. So if you read these points, this is what it says. The only thing I want to highlight where I don't agree with this researcher is in the government can make or break a government. That is not true. It can, social media can influence perceptions which people have, but it can't make or break government. We will discuss about governments and other things as we go along. I would urge you to read these points, and if you have any doubts in these, we can answer them in the subsequent days. They are pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to read everyone, each and every one out of this, but you will understand that these are what they are supposed to do, and how different people use these. Okay, next slide, please. So next we go to the causal loop of the stakeholders and social media as to what happens, how are these connected. So I would urge you to just go through these arrows: social media, internet presence, social media users, awareness, political parties' presence over testing, rational decision making, effective government, liberal internet policies, and again back to social media. Okay, so what does this slide imply? Next one, please. So basically that earlier diagram just explained the impact of social media on Indian politics. You can see that the more the internet penetration in the population, the total number of social media users there are, it will have a positive effect on the society, as it will help increasing awareness regarding various socio-economic issues. So this will attract more and more political parties to have their presence over the internet. Voters will get much more insights and choices to make rational decisions amongst the candidates. This will enforce existing governments to take decisions in favor of people and liberalize internet policies to ensure freedom of speech, which would again increase social media penetration. Now, this is as per the causal loop, but what actually happens in practice, we are going to discuss in the subsequent slides. So you will be able to see what are the pluses and what are the minuses of the social media. Okay, next please. Okay, so now I'll cover some points about how is it impacting democracy. See, during protests, social media can be used to bring people together and help them organize. You must have seen this all over the world. You must have seen this in our own country also, in various places when protests are held. You are able to pass messages and organize things very quickly on social media. Second, it can have an unintended effect of creating silos, helping to spread rumors and fueling people's fears. So this is the other effect. Creating silos means that you are, put in a shell. You make groups amongst yourselves, and then sometimes rumors are spread, and it creates fear amongst people. So what has been seen generally is that in countries which are not currently democratic, the social media undermines the development of democracy. That is what the researchers say. Countries in which the traditional media is controlled by the government, social media can give protesters a way to connect and mobilize without the government being able to control the narrative. So what it means here is that the traditional media like the TV and the radio and others, if they are controlled by the government, you see the common man, the public can do nothing about it. So the only medium left with them is the social media, which is Facebook, WhatsApp, and the other things which are there. So they are able to connect with each other on that, which the government finds difficult to control. Okay, next. Yeah. So these are some of the examples I wanted to show you as to the social how the government is trying to control the social media. And now these are examples from India. These are some of the things you must be reading and knowing about all these. Like there was an attempt to impose certain restrictions on the use of internet, which then people went to court, and then section 66A was struck down as unconstitutional by the this thing. Then there are these cases which keep coming up. For example, this Delhi High Court directs police not to take coercive action against Alt News co-founder so and so. Then Andaman journalist arrested for asking coronavirus related questions on Twitter. So these are the type of things which the government is trying to impose on the public. The Prashant Bhushan case. So why I'm saying it democracy, I told you it's a very wide this thing, and that's why I'm covering these issues. Even the what do you call the judiciary, they got so upset with that simple tweet of Prashant Bhushan, and you are aware what all happened and the drama which took place. So next, please. So are we really enjoying freedom of expression? That is the question by using social media. What are the other effects of social media? See, sometimes it can even have effects on national security. You must have seen there was a surge of fake news after the Pulwama attack in February 2019. Then the politicization by the political parties. Even in their election campaign and everywhere, they were showing the Balakot and the Pulwama, this thing, and they were trying to make it, diverting public attention and making public opinion on these issues. Third was this jingoist nationalism, which is touted by the political parties and various groups on these social media. Like you happened that they started targeting Kashmiri students in various parts of the countries. And anybody with temperate voices was labeled as anti-national or traitors and all. So these are some of the disadvantages, of social media. In Sri Lanka, you must have seen the divisiveness and hatred propagated by politicians and religious leaders eroded cohesion and became a security threat. Similarly, in 2018, the Easter suicide bombings, there was a surge of fake news and hate speech which resulted in communal riots and conflict. Next, please. Okay. I very briefly want to touch on this Egyptian uprising of January 2001 because 11, because this was one of the cases, where social media was used extensively by the common man to and I'm not saying as a result of the social media the uprising came together, but it played a very important role in collecting the people and outpouring of anger against the Hosni Mubarak regime at that time. So, but what is important in this is, if you see point number 2, social media played an important role in the Egyptian uprising, but evidence suggests that it played an equally significant role in the country's failed attempt to transition to a consolidated democracy. Okay, so the uprising was all about bringing democracy to Egypt, but they failed in that attempt because after that there was so much chaos and confusion, and there was another guy who came in and then he was also thrown out and so forth. And as a result of which, what happens is that after the uprising and throwing out of Hosni Mubarak, then there were so many different groups which came up on social media, and they were used as sort of tools to fuel differences and various other things amongst the people, as a result of which the impact of social media was there, but it diminished after the uprising. Next. There were so many other studies which have been carried out, and some of the analysis which comes out are listed in these two slides. One is that social media effect is amplified during periods of unrest, that is protests, or during transitions. Transition means when the governments are changing, the elections are held, like in our country every 5 years. So that's the time social media plays a very active role. Secondly, during protests, as I said, it can be used to bring people together, and during transition period to create silos, spreading rumors and fueling people's fears. Third, it undermines democracies in countries, like I told you, which are not truly democratic. Media shared by a Facebook can alter people's opinion whether the content is true or false. So there are a lot of people who get influenced by these content on Facebook and all, not knowing whether it is true or false. Next, please. Okay. Then this is an important point as far as elections go. 5. Potential of Facebook to influence user decisions to vote, which could be used for gain of one or any other party over the other. That is, if the Facebook programmers wanted to. Now you must have seen there are a number of allegations against Facebook for trying to manipulate, or I would say side with one party, political party or the other, for whatever reasons. For the So that is why the important thing is, if FB programmers want to, if they are impartial, then it's fine. 6. Consumption of online news from traditional media sites has positive effects on democracy, but using social media sites has a negative because of potential for negative interaction between users. As I mentioned in the previous slide also, that groups are formed, then all sorts of fake news and hate news and various other things are shared, which are not really good. Social media has helped to undermine democracy because people have substituted real life participation for symbolic participation of connected with people via social media. Okay, next please. Okay, so now I'll come to the connection between social media and the Indian elections. Next please, Arpit. So basic social media use at a large scale started before the I would say 2014 elections, and the Prime Minister Modi was the initiator of the use, because he was very active and he had this policy of sort of connecting directly with the electorate. He started this, and then of course people woke up a little later and others also started doing it. As is evident, 2018 he was the third most followed on Twitter in the world, and in October 2019 he is the fourth largest following. He has the fourth largest following on Instagram. So social media emerged as a key battleground to mold public opinion, though its capability to determine political outcomes is questionable. 2019 elections, you must have seen, was a new low in public discourse. Now I'm talking only about social media. There was so much of fake news, so much of misinformation, flouting of ethical norms relating to political communications in the social media. Polarizing, divisive content, hate speech existed, and social media has exacerbated the whole problem. I mean, they have multiplied it many folds. And the problem is that fact checking is very difficult. There are a number of sites for fact checking, but who has the time? It is like fastest finger on the keyboard. Na? You get a message and patak, you pass it to all your groups without seeing whether it is correct, wrong, or what. Next, please. Okay. So prior to the Lok Sabha 2019 elections, Election Commission along with the IAMAI, that is the Internet and Mobile Association of India, and social media giants like Facebook, Google, Twitter, etc., adapted a voluntary code of ethics for the general election 2019 to regulate the misuse of social media. But let me add here only that they failed miserably. ECI made it mandatory for all candidates contesting in 2019 elections to mention their social media handles in their affidavits, and made it compulsory for all political social media ads to pre-certified from the Media Certification and Monitoring Committees in place at district and state levels. So these MCMEs are very much there during elections at the district and state levels. But again, their hands are tied. I mean, there is so much of information on social media that for them to see each and everything and point out what is wrong, what is right, and all is very different. Next, please. So ECR, together with some of the social media platforms, they developed a notification mechanism. So they notify the violations under section 126 of the RPA on other matters, post which an action is taken on such violation within 3 hours. Then there was a white paper published called Stopping Abuse by WhatsApp in early 2019. And they revealed that they had deleted around 2 million accounts to tackle fake news. You are aware, all these big politicians and world leaders and all, they have a lot of fake accounts also. These accounts have bulk or automated behavior, which means they send high volumes of messages. WhatsApp also launched this checkpoint tip line, which allows its users to submit suspicious content to know its authenticity. In 2 months of the checkpoint's launch, it received about 75,000 authentication requests from users. Next, please. Twitter, nowadays, it allows only political campaigning ads to run via promoted tweets and in-stream video ads. To run political ads, the political advertiser has to obtain Twitter certification. During the elections 2019, Twitter deleted around 220 tweets by May. Facebook deleted 702 pages, accounts, and groups as of 1st April 2019. And 60 Facebook political ads were found during the silent period. Silent period means when the campaigning ends and you are not supposed to do any sort of advertising or campaigning, but on Facebook these were put up. So these contents were taken down on the ground of violation of code of ethics as communal hate, junk news, and bypassing the anti-spam. Next, please. Now, this is out of one of the reports of ADR, which we keep generating, This is on social media. Now, when the political parties and the candidates submitted their election expenditure reports, there is a format laid down by the Election Commission. They are required to follow that, but they don't. They put it as they wish. Now, if you see, out of the 7 national parties, only 4 submitted their social media expenditure, which we have shown here. Now, even in this, you will find that Congress has put in digital media campaign. Why they have put it, I don't know. They have shown the social media expenditure separately. Social media ads, social media, Facebook video promotion, WhatsApp message, and so on and so forth. Similarly, NCP has shown social media and Facebook, and CPM has shown social media only. What is surprising, I mean, it gives a distorted picture in this is because actually the expenditure done by BJP on the elections on social media must be at least 10 times more than the Congress. But because the way the report has been given here, they have shown digital media campaign, which I do not know what exactly it includes. It may be their electronic media, it may be their online media, or what. Because this is 1350 lakhs. Otherwise, if you discard this, then the expenditure of BJP and Congress is more or less the same on the social media, the other things which you see. Okay, next, please. Yeah, so this is what I explained, that four of them only submitted the thing, and BJP has spent what amount in the others. You have already seen this, so we can move to the next. Next slide, please. Okay. So, as per the data released by Facebook and Google, so you see now officially Facebook and Google and all are supposed to submit a weekly report of the spending by the political parties. They have to submit this report to the Election Commission, and they have to show that इस हफ्ते में इन्होंने इतना खर्च किया, इसमें इतना किया, and so forth. So, as of 22nd May, amount of only 55 crores was shown on this. So, which is not more than 1% of their overall spending on Facebook and Google advertisements. Okay, next, please. Now, I very quickly talk about political advertisements. Now, there is no statutory definition as such of political. However, all the parties are doing it. And the problem here is that the second paragraph, political ads not directly funded by political party or candidate called surrogate or ghost advertisement. They are a cause of concern because their wide circulation runs the risk of misleading voters and potentially facilitating unethical or illegal payments to support election campaigns through advertising. That is one part. And the second part is that this tactics is employed by the political parties so that there is this expenditure on social media is not counted in their account. Next, please. So, as I said, the ECI guidelines mandate the disclosure, but they do not cover the ads that are purchased by supporters or well-wishers of the parties who cannot directly be linked to either party or the candidate. Next, please. So this is, one graph which is from the Pew Research Center, which shows that 50%, 54% of the Americans think that social media companies should not allow any political ads on their platform. There is a breakdown age-wise and, party-wise, Republic, Democrats and all that. Next, please. Okay, so this was a nice survey done by Lokniti CSDS, you may have heard of it, on social media and political behavior after the 2019 elections. I will quickly run over these slides. You can read these points. It throws up a mixed picture. So survey data shows a relationship between voter social media usage and their propensity to vote for the BJP. Higher the exposure to social media, higher was the support for BJP. But BJP also got a high proportion of votes, 36% among those not exposed to social media, who form 2/3 of the electorate. Congress too did better among these highly exposed social media and those not exposed to it. The impact of social media exposure on BJP's vote was not uniform across castes. The overall trend of high support for the BJP among the more exposed to social media is not consistent across all social networking platforms. Next. BJP social media advantage over Congress declined compared to 2014, while it led over Congress among those who use social media in 2014. Its lead in the 2019, basically Congress also caught up. For most voters, the main source of political news is television, followed by newspaper. Only 3% said their main source was social media. Nearly half of those who said they share political news either daily or sometimes on social networks were found to have voted for NDA. Social media usage might be making people develop strong feelings of like and dislike towards a political party. There is a strong linkage between social media usage and political participation. Next. The information which users gathered through social media helps them form fresh opinions apart from reinforcing the beliefs they already hold. 4 in every 5 respondents who had a high exposure to social media claim to have heard about the slogans Chaukidar Chor hai and Main bhi Chaukidar. 1 in every 2 who were not exposed to social media were found to have no knowledge about these slogans. With respect to the Nyay scheme, comparing the users on the basis of their usage, the awareness declined with decline in usage. 1 in every 2 voters who were not using any of the social media apps could never know about the Nyay scheme. The knowledge of Balakot airstrikes was very high across all sections, but the gap between users and non-users of social media was found to be more than 20% points. Next, please. Across all categories of usage, 3/4 believe India belongs to all religions equally. Those who believe India to be only of Hindus were between 14 to 17% across all categories. The voters with high exposure to social media are more likely to believe that Muslims are highly nationalist compared to the ones with no social media exposure. As the exposure to social media increases, the opinion of the users, whatever they might be, gets strengthened. Those who are on the at least one of the social media platforms are likely to identify themselves more with their national identity compared to the state identities. 1 in every 4 respondents, irrespective of the usage patterns, claim to have no trust at all on the news shared across social media platforms. Voters using WhatsApp and YouTube showed least net interest and okay, I can't read this lower part. Next. We have already seen this. Yeah. Okay. So now these are some of the questions I want to leave you people with. I am not giving any judgments on social media, whether it is good, bad, ugly, whether it is required or not required. You can decide for yourself. I am just giving you food for thought. Is the internet and social media really emerging as a new player in the world of politics? Can social media presence change how voters think and make decisions? How social media is impacting the overall political scenario in India? How political parties are capitalizing over a free and widespread network of social media? How has and how the internet will continue to change the politics in India? Is the emergence of internet good for politics in India? Are the current strategies enough to tackle the spread of fake news, hate speech, and paid news for a country like India? Are voters even aware about the regulations and strategies? How gravely have social media platforms affected the Indian democracy? Next, please. So, since our expertise is in the field of election watch and the reports which we generate, so I have given some recommendations purely for the Indian elections. Firstly, the current regulatory methods for political propaganda and campaigning on social media must be made stricter because our experience of the 2019 general election and the various state elections is that election commission and these so-called regulatory bodies and all have failed to check the ill effects of social media. The second, the standard definition of political advertisement should be stated by the ECI so that all social media platforms follow one definition. Third, social media platforms and election commissions should be more vigilant of the ghost advertisements related to elections and political parties, because I told you it is related to the expenditure, because then the expenditure is not shown by the political parties. And fourthly, there should be an expenditure limit on the political advertisements run from the official accounts of the political parties and candidates on social media platforms. So I think that is all as far as my talk goes. And after Professor Srivastav speaks, we will be open to questions. We will be happy to answer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. Ashit sir, I would like to have you now.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for such an elaborate and authentic resources which we saw today, and it enlightened us to the
Thank you.
dilemmas of social media. I'll stick pretty much to the same line, but howsoever I'll start with the impact of social media per se on the elections, which we talked about. So as you already told us that somewhere down the line, we do not have any particular substantive data to show that what social media is impacting the elections per se. But the impact of social media per se is that it is impacting the undecided voters. So there might be some person who might be favoring XYZ party, and there might be person who are favoring the contrary party. But there are always these undecided voters, and these undecided voters are basically from the age group of 18 to 24. And these people are mostly on social media. So what I think the majority political parties in India are able to do right now is that they are able to hire good PR agents, which I really like to call PR agents. And if anyone has seen the great interview of Prashant Kishore with Karan Thapar, the first thing he tells us about that he's been with the BJP government from 2010, and now he has formed his own political analyst firm by the name of Indian Political Association for Indian Political Action Committee (IPAC), and IPAC has been associated with in Andhra Pradesh election, in Punjab election, in Delhi election, and they quite broadly say that they have taken down the campaign for all these political parties who are in power in these states. So suddenly we come to realize that the idea of Indian election is becoming much more corporatized in nature. It's a corporate affair now, a corporate affair run by PR agents. The second thing is what social media does for us is social media impacts the undecided voters. And when I say undecided voters, these are those people who are not favoring any political party. So if a certain kind of narrative is shown to them through social media, it might impact their voting behavior, and this is something of behavioral economics coming into play. I want to share some stats regarding this, which I'll share my screen for that. Hopefully, it's visible to you guys. Yeah, is my screen visible to everyone? If my screen is visible, can anyone? Arpit, is it visible, beta? Arpit, can you see my screen? Anil sir, can you see my screen? Anil sir?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I think it takes a little time to load, maybe.
Okay. No?
Having trouble in connecting.
Okay. Give one sec. So I'll continue like this if my screen is not visible per se. Howsoever, the idea is that somewhere down the line, I wanted to show you guys that what amount of money was spent by political parties in the regional elections. I was trying to make a comparison with the Maharashtra election, in which Shiv Sena and BJP Maharashtra was the highest spender on social media, and that reflected in their voting behavior also. The amount of seat grasped by Shiv Sena and BJP were at the equal proportionate of their spending on the social media. Similarly, same thing happened during your Delhi elections, where Delhi AAP was the highest spender on the social media as compared to BJP Delhi. So suddenly you're seeing that the impact of spending on social media is reflecting slowly and suddenly in the election behavior of the people also. Now we also need to separate the idea of political posts from political advertisements, as quite correctly said by sir that the idea of political advertisement has to be categorized, and the Election Commission of India for 2019 has created a particular committee. The committee is Media Certification and Monitoring Committee, MCMC. Now, the major role of MCMC is to make sure that any political party or any candidate standing for election doesn't spend more money as compared to what is allotted. So, if you read Section 77 of the RP Act, Section 77 of the RP Act quite clearly says the limit for spending for a candidate on his election campaign is 70 lakh rupees, and it's 28 lakh rupees for the assembly. So if a candidate is standing in the election and he's fighting for XYZ party, he cannot spend more than 70 lakhs. That's a cumulative amount. But as sir told us that there are ghost advertisements, and ghost advertisements are coming from proxy accounts. So if the Election Commission of India says, you know what, that XYZ candidate has to file his authentic social media account, he'll do that. He won't hesitate for doing that. The problem comes with the proxy accounts, because you cannot keep a track of the proxy accounts. There could be thousands of proxy accounts by the same individual, and you cannot trace them at all. And here is the lacune of basically the social media websites. If my screen visible, if I'm able to show them my PPT. Yeah, it's still opening. Right. So and Facebook has adopted a very lenient side effect upon this, because the Facebook's attempt on curbing hate speech or post has been very lenient. Facebook has this own community standards, and the idea of community standards quite literally means that, you know what, there are certain material which you can post on Facebook and certain material which you cannot post on Facebook. However, Facebook has been a little biased towards applying these principles. So it might be favoring certain political parties, which we read about in the recent case of Akhi Das, who was one of the chief executive officers in the Facebook of India, who admitted the fact that, you know what, certain political parties were benefited from the non-application of the community standards. Reasons means they were trying to perpetuate the idea of fake narratives, which we just read about. And you will come to realize that in the last 10 years, and I hope my screen is visible now. Is my slides visible?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Right. So yeah. So when we talk about the proxy accounts, if you see that there are two proxy accounts I'm talking about right now, and if you see the address of the account, their address are quite same, but the political party do not say that they are related to the accounts. So that's one of the issue coming up. Now, yes, this is the Facebook political ads policy, and if you read the very first line, it says ultimately we do not think decisions about political ads should be made by private companies, which is why we are arguing for regulation that would apply across the industry. If you read the second paragraph, that's the problem part, right? So Facebook quite clearly says that even if a political advertisement is biased in nature, it is not his role to curb the advertisement per se. Because for them is the idea is that, you know what, that if a political party wants to relate to his audience, they can relate to us. There can be no fact checking by the Facebook per se, and that creates a lacune somewhere down the line, because that leads to the idea of uneven application of community standards. So when there is uneven community standard application, one political party might be fined for it, the other party won't be fined for it. So this leads to a severe downflow. Now, regarding the fake narratives which have been created, and if you realize in the last couple of years, the amount of memes we are seeing on social media, and you come to realize making memes has become a profession, and you can earn around $3K to $4K, and I'm not joking about this. You can earn around $3 to $4K within a week if you're a meme maker. So they are spending around millions of rupees in memes alone. So all these narratives created on the Facebook, the moment you go on Facebook, you see a particular bias memes which are augmenting your affirmation bias, and this is what we call as filter bubble. I'm seeing the stuff which I want to see. So the whole role of Facebook as a democratic association where people are coming with different ideas is not there anymore, because the moment you go on Facebook, you're seeing something which you're already knowing about, and it's perpetuating your own or existing biasness. So it again depends how much money a particular political party is spending on it, and how much the community standards are applied by the company per se. Facebook recently has come up with the Facebook Oversight Board. It is trying to make sure that it can control this fake narratives and make judgments upon the issues regarding deletion of post. But we need to understand that the way the Facebook works, there are 3-tier level. So you have AI-based deletion of post. So when you're posting something on Facebook, you see that it'll take some time for posting. and the time duration for posting something is the time that the AI is working. It is seeing whether your post is harmful to the society or not. If it is not, it will be posted. The second layer of moderation comes from people who are human moderators, and there are around 16,000 moderators across the whole globe who are watching around 7 to 8,000 posts every day. They are overworked, so they cannot counter every post what might be harmful to the community or not. And Facebook has agreed to this fact that, you know what, somewhere down the line we are less on resources. So if you're expecting that 16,000 people will go through 7,000 posts every day and they will decide which post to stay or not, they are making choices of freedom of expression. Can you believe that? In just one day. And they can get paid very less. Now, this creates a problem. The problem is, if a political party is spending a lot of money in political advertisement, there is a possibility that the community standards might be given less stringent effect upon that political party. And this will again create the fake narrative going on. And you're again stuck in that filter bubble. So this filter bubble is impacting the idea of young voters to a large extent. Right? Yes. I'll try sharing my PPT if it opens. And by that time, you can take the questions if possible.
Sure, sir. Sir, you may send your PPT to me and I'll play that.
Okay, I'll just do that. Right.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, sir, Shashank Tiwari has asked or expressed basically, it cannot be denied that it has affected the youth, but the humongous advantages of it can also not be ignored. Every coin has two sides.
Yes. No, if you're talking about the perspective of outreach, that's not an issue. Outreach is a good thing for democracy. We all agree with that. The problem is, are you outreaching to a community with a particular narrative? When you see social media, the idea of internet was that it would be a democratic playground where everyone comes and sits together. Just imagine that you're standing in a square. Square means chauraha. Or chaurahe pe char log khade, right? But the problem is you're not allowing the three to speak. Only one person is speaking loudly and he's shouting, right? And the person who owns the chauraha he's saying nothing to him. That creates a narrative in the minds of other people also, right? So you need to make sure that democratic nature of social media and internet is safeguarded, where you allow other people to also speak up. And that's why I say the interesting portion is, if you observe Delhi assembly elections, the highest amount of money spent on social media was by Delhi app, not by BJP app. Sorry, no, not of the BJP Delhi. If you compare it with any other state, if you compare it with Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, or Gujarat, BJP Rajasthan are spending more money as compared to the other local parties there. But Aap Delhi spend more money as compared to Delhi, right? So that tells us something. The more the presence you're having on social media, the more the narrative you're able to create for yourself, it is having a great impact, and you cannot deny that.
So the next suggestion maybe is from Mohammad Noruddin. He says that there should be certain norms to check and balance freedom of speech on social media. It shouldn't be unrestricted as it violates others' right of reputation and privacy.
Yeah, so this question is to Arpit? This question is to?
Yes, sir. Anyone can answer. Yeah, it was posted when sir was speaking. Anil sir was speaking. Yeah.
So to Anil sir.
Yeah. So like I had mentioned also, yeah, there's certain amount of regulation is required, definitely. You are seeing what has happened. Let's take the example of electronic media. There are certain channels which are devoted to just, singing praises of the government. There are others, if they criticize, then they are called anti-nationals, Tukde gang and what all. So there has to be some sort of, you can't say self-regulation, because there is no self-regulation. At the same time, whatever committees or things are formed, they have to be, comprised of all sections of the society, I would say. It should not be biased people. Because as you are seeing now, there is a sort of undermining of most of the constitutional bodies also. If you pick and choose, appoint people, then they follow a particular party line. which is not a good thing. So that is why in all my initial slides I told you what is the effect of social media on democracy. We have to watch that, and that is why some sort of regulation, I would say, is definitely required. Otherwise, hate speech and all sorts of things are, and as you have seen, most of the governments, the first thing they ban when they see there is unrest or something going to take place is the internet.
Yes.
First thing that they do, because they fear that this is the one which is, going to give the spark, and then people sort of, come out, and so there are both sides of the same issue, but I personally feel some regulation is definitely required.
Okay, sir. Your slide is visible, sir.
Yes, nice. I just wanted to share this slide with you everyone. Actually, if you can see, this is an amount spent, and the source of the information is the particular website itself. So you've got Facebook ad library, you've got Google transparency report. So if you know what happened in 2016 after the US Trump election, a lot of questions was raised regarding the social media usages against the Facebook also and Google also. So they came up with their own transparency report. So Facebook now has Facebook ad library where you can find the amount of money spent by any political party. Similarly, you have Google transparency report for that very matter. And this is the amount spent by the political parties, and these are the highest amount paid by the political parties. I have been making certain observations regarding this. Yes. So I was taking out the pattern of advertisements and on which language was used. So if you can see that, as Sir told us, that somewhere down the line the language use is a more regional languages for. So if you can see that the BJP's political advertisements are more in Hindi as compared to other languages, right? So there's a particular crowd which they are looking for. And as Sir already told us about the Chokidar advertisement, right? So you can see the orange portion is the Chokidar portion, which is the highest category of advertisement shown by the political party. And all this information was taken out from the right. Now this is another chart, pie chart, which I want to show you is regarding the money spent on the social media advertisement. And this is again from February 2020 to July 2020, and you can see that no, it is February 19, sorry. And if you see, this is the Delhi BJP Delhi and Aam Aadmi Party are the highest spender. And if you see, the Aam Aadmi Party has spent highest amount of money as compared to the BJP Delhi, right? Can you see that? Yes.
Yeah.
And you see the amount of seat won by the political parties. There are only two political parties who won the seats in Delhi Assembly election, right? And you see, AAP has got the highest number of seats as well as Delhi, as well as BJP Delhi, comparatively less. But yes, so you can see a little impact coming in on the spending and in the seat wons. If you analyze this. Other great thing about this is that the AAP is in direct connection with IPAC, and IPAC is again the Indian Political Action Committee, which is again one of the biggest political analyst firm in India right now. And if you go visit their website, they showcase this, that they are analysts for AAP in Delhi, they are analysts for Captain Amrinder Singh in Punjab, they are analysts for Jagmohan Reddy in Andhra Pradesh, right? So you come to realize this is more a corporate affair where a particular narrative is being chosen by every political party. So they have to stick to their image. They cannot run away from that. It's like a brand being sold, right? One thing which can be done is, which I think has started, is because Facebook suddenly realized that his image is being disgruntled for a lot. Facebook has come up with Facebook Oversight Board, and it will include 40 members who will be making decisions regarding the posts on Facebooks. And one of our Indian scholar, Sudhir Krishnaswamy, is a part of that, right? So that's a positive step, at least, which looks like. But it will still require a lot of regulation from the government also, which has been little missing from on this frontier. Yeah.
Sir, Sheetal Mayank asked that why can't the budget be restricted for publicity of political parties on social media platforms?
Okay, so I'll take that on. See, we have one of the PILs we had filed in the Supreme Court, where we've just got one hearing so far. You know how things are in the court. We said that, as Professor Ashit also mentioned, there is a limit for spending by a candidate. For Lok Sabha, it is 70 lakhs, and for the state assembly elections, it is 28 lakhs. But for political parties, there is no limit on expenditure, which is a ridiculous state of affairs. For a country like India, where the percentage of people below poverty line, and we are spending on elections more than the USA. I mean, what a travesty. And there is no limit on the expenditure which the political parties can do. So definitely there is a requirement to impose some restrictions on, and by the way, this is not ADR's view. Even the Election Commission and Law Commission and so many other people have recommended that there should be nobody is saying that you don't need money to contest elections. You definitely need money, but there has to be some limit. So definitely there is some ceiling required.
Arpit, you're mute.
Arbit, you're mute. We can't hear you.
Mute.
Sorry. Yes, sir. Recently, NLIU organized an Asian parliamentary debate, so in which a question was raised that can government levy tax on people for spending hours on social media?
They should.
That was a really
The richest government would be India.
They
See,
should tax
there-
the political parties.
Yes. So if you realize there's so much behavioral economics going into running social media, which color should be the platform, the blue color, because blue color is a universal color. All these small things, the idea of having a like button on Facebook, all these are generating hormones every time you go on Facebook. And this is a way of capturing people. Now, if Facebook tells us, that it is a neutral website where posts are being made by parties and we are not liable for that, it cannot happen because it is processing information. It chooses which post stays and which doesn't stay. That makes it a processor of information now. Is it, as sir already told us, 63% of Indian people choose social media as their first site for news. 63% is a big website, big number. And I tell you what, if you see all the political advertisements by these political parties, you come to realize they have targeted male from 18 to 35 years of age. So if you're able to capture the vote of the mayor of the house, and this is again Indian families, you're also able to capture the vote of the females also somewhere. Because in a survey which I took out, our personal level, the voting behavior of females is mostly dependent on the voting behavior of the male community, which is again a slow transition for us as a community growing. Yes.
Okay, sir. The next question is from Akshay Kishore. He asks, what are the power of election commission when a campaign runs against a social group during election? Either of you may answer. Yeah.
I'll take this, sir. I'll take this.
Yeah, please.
Right. So when you use the term, I'll think you're trying to refer to the idea of hate speech, which I can take it out of that. Right?
I do think of that. Yes.
Yes. So if this is hate speech, you need to understand hate speech is not defined per se in the Indian laws anywhere. A law commission report came out, and the law commission report also agreed that we have excessive laws for hate speech. If you read section 153, 153A, section I'm forgetting the section right now, but we have enough sections in the IPC which already talk about that we cannot have the idea of hate speech. You cannot target a particular group. It doesn't matter you're on Facebook or on the real world. If you make a hate speech, it is liable to be offensive. The problem with hate speech on social media comes up that how do you make sure it is removed from the social media? So even the social media is regulated by 3 laws. We have IT Act, we have SPDI rules, we have intermediary guidelines 2011. All these guidelines make sure that social media as a fiduciary it doesn't allow all these hate speeches to be remaining in the website. But the problem with the hate speech in India is on social media is uneven application of community standards. If you go in the community standards of Facebook today, it defines hate speech in 3 levels. There are 3 tiers of hate speech as per Facebook. If it is tier 1, it will be removed ASAP. If it is tier 2, it'll take some time. If it is tier 3, it'll take 2 or 3 days. But the problem when it comes to India, because our regulators are not very harsh upon them, it gives them a leeway that it can work upon. There's no issues. If you compare it with Germany, Germany has a law of net is DZ, which is an acronym for the law which they have. It puts a heavy penalty of 24 million euros. If you have a hate speech, it's your responsibility to make sure that you remove the hate speech within 24 hours. If you do not remove it in 24 hours, you will be fined for euro 24 million. We have laws, we are not applying those laws. And I tell you, in 2018, around 180 cases was sent by our regulators to the Facebook that removed these content. The regulators had sent only defamation cases, remove these, which Facebook denied. We won't remove it. So there is a certain kind of respect which the Facebook might not be having for our regulators. If you are getting my point, right? If a Germany is able to enforce their hate law against hate law speech so severely that if you do not remove it, will fine you 24 million euro within 24 hours. We need to have certain kind of elemental value system like that, because Facebook today is like a state. It's a parallel state. It's an alter ego of a state. And so to compel Facebook to be more accountable to you, you need to make sure that your laws in India are applied hardly, stringently, I'll say. Yes.
Okay, I believe we don't have any more questions. We'll wait for a few seconds if anyone wishes to ask. And also, we are moving to the time cap we had decided. So we'll see if there's one or two questions, and we'll then move to the conclusion. Okay, sir. So we have discussed both positive and negative impacts of social media. And would you like to conclude, like, on which side are we right now? Like, what's the balance? Are we on the positive side or the negative side? And what must be done specifically by the government to make it clear?
Yeah, Professor Ashit, please.
Sir, first you, sir. After that.
Okay,
after
so
you.
what I feel is, as far as the elections and the politics is concerned, we are on the negative side. There are more of negativism, hate speeches, all sorts of fake news, trying divisive content and all that which goes on. I would say it is, whether it is directed by the IT cells of the political parties, I will not say, I will not comment. But the fact is that there are a lot of bhakts, and similarly on the other side, there are people. So they carry their own agendas, which is not good for the democracy, I would say. So that is why I mentioned earlier also, there is a bit of regulation required in this. Proactive regulation by the Election Commission and stringent laws, as Professor Srivastava mentioned.
Right. Okay. I personally feel, we already have a lot of regulatory bodies. The new evolution regarding regulation will only come from the private bodies themselves. They have to feel their responsibility towards the democracy, which they are not feeling right now, because they are making so much money from the political advertisement. They wouldn't stop that. They're not going to stop that. That's for sure. Unless and until a good conscience comes within ourselves that we really want to restrict them, and we tend to change our moderation system, a change won't come into the political advertisements at all. So till the time we do not have the regulatory body which we already have, if that works properly, because believe me, we have intermediary guidelines rule 2011, and it puts an obligation on social media websites that you need to ensure that your content is not, it does not has the idea of hatred. And if I have to interpret hatred, I'll say it's the idea of hate speech, right? So we already have regulations. All we require is a good conscience. That's it.
Okay, sir. That was really a great session, sir, and very informative. And I would also like to take a moment to say that we were also about to join with Professor Balraj Chauhan also, but because of some personal work, he was not able to join us. So we would really like to have you, Anil sir, in our university someday once this Corona and thing ends. And,
yeah, certainly. It will be a pleasure.
Yes, so for conclusive statements, I would like to call Gauri, one of the executive members of the legal aid cell of DNLU. I think there is some network issue from.
You can conclude. There's no issues.
Okay, sir, I'll do that. Okay. Thank you so much, Anil sir. And thank you so much, Ashish sir, for your very informative things, and the information you guys have given is really much appreciated. And I really didn't had any idea of things going on around. And I would the people also would like to thank you. Everyone is saying that it was a very informative session as well. And I would like to conclude it here. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Professor
much. Thank
Srivastav,
you.
and thank you, Arpit, for organizing it. Pleasure
Thank
being
you.
with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure.